The first thing Clara Whitmore ever gave me was a brass key tied to a strip of faded blue ribbon. The last thing she expected me to give her was a reason to use it. On the evening everything changed. She stood in the doorway of the cottage, with rain shining in her hair and her old suitcase open on the floor behind her. Her father's truck had just disappeared beyond the orchard gate. Her former husband's letter lay torn in two on the kitchen table. She held the brass key so tightly it left a mark in her palm. "Jonah," she whispered, "what if choosing for myself is the very thing that ruins my life again?" I had an answer, but it was not one I could give her yet. Not while her family's words still filled the room, not while she believed love was another door that might lock behind her. So I took the key from her hand, set it beside the chipped blue mug on the counter, and said, "Then we don't choose tonight." She stared at me. "We make tea," I added. "We dry the floor. Tomorrow we fix one window." A breath left her that was almost a laugh. That was how Clara and I survived the hardest night of our lives. One kettle, one towel, one broken window at a time. But the story did not begin there. It began 6 months earlier when I walked into an abandoned cottage at the edge of Whitmore Orchard and found a woman standing in the dust, holding a cedar chest she could not open. My name is Jonah Mercer. I was 34 then, and I repaired old houses around Galena, Illinois. Most of my work came from leaning porches, loose stair rails, and kitchens built when people expected a table to last longer than a marriage. I liked work that showed its age honestly. A split board told you where the pressure had been. A loose hinge told you what it needed. People were harder. My father taught me the trade in a narrow workshop behind our house. He died when I was 27, leaving me his tools, his truck, and a silence I did not know how to fill. 2 years later, the woman I planned to marry left for Chicago. Lena stood in my kitchen with her coat buttoned and said, "You keep fixing places other people get to live in." Then she placed my key on the counter and walked away. After that, I stopped making plans that required another person. I worked. I ate dinner over the sink. I kept one blue mug by the kettle and left the second hook under the cabinet empty. By 34, I had become dependable in the way lonely men often do. I remembered which widow needed her steps salted. I fixed the loose handle at church without sending a bill. Everyone knew they could call me. No one called just to ask me to stay. The Whitmore job came through an estate lawyer named Mr. Bell. "I need an inspection," he said. Small cottage. Orchard property. Which orchard? Whitmore. That name mattered in Galena. Whitmore Orchard had stood nearly a century. Families came each fall for apples, cider, and photographs beneath the red barn sign. Charles Whitmore owned most of the eastern ridge and inspected every nail when I worked for him. Why isn't Charles calling? Because the cottage passed to his daughter. People mentioned that daughter only in whispers. She had married a man her family hated, left town, and vanished from every orchard brochure. When does she want the inspection? She arrived this morning. The cottage sat beyond the last apple rows, where the land dipped toward a creek. The roof sagged. Ivy covered half the chimney. The porch rail lay in the weeds. Still, the place had dignity. I knocked, but the door opened under my hand. A thud came from the back room. I found her kneeling beside a cedar chest, one sleeve rolled up, a screwdriver in her hand. Dust streaked her cheek. Brown hair had slipped loose from a knot. "You must be Mr. Mercer," she said. "Jonah is fine." She glanced at the screwdriver. "I know this looks foolish. It looks like the wrong tool." "That is a kinder word for foolish." I crouched beside the chest. A brass plate held the initials R.W. "My grandmother's," she said. The lawyer found it in the attic. "You have the key?" "No, I can open it without damaging the wood, but I need better tools." Her shoulders lowered. "Everyone keeps telling me what cannot be done with this place." I didn't say it couldn't be done. She met my eyes. "No," she said quietly. "You didn't." That was the first thing I noticed about Clara. She listened hardest when someone left room for hope. We spent the next hour walking through the cottage. The kitchen floor dipped near the sink. 2 windows were painted shut. The upstairs plaster had cracked in long pale lines. A family of mice had claimed the pantry and seemed prepared to defend it. Clara followed me with a yellow legal pad. Roof? She asked. Repairable chimney? Needs a mason. Porch? Needs mercy. She smiled down at the page. That bad? That old. She wrote something, then tapped the pencil against her thumb. Could a person live here by October? It was early April. A person with low standards? A person with 1 suitcase. I turned toward her. She had said it lightly, but her eyes dropped to the floor. Are you planning to stay? I'm planning to make it sellable. That wasn't what I asked. She walked to the window and tried the swollen frame. It did not move. My grandmother left it to me, she said. I haven't decided what that means. Outside, rows of bare apple branches crossed the hill like dark stitching. Beyond them stood the main Whitmore farmhouse, large and white against the sky. Clara saw where I was looking. They know I'm here. Have you spoken to them? Her pencil stopped tapping. No. I let the silence settle. Galena knew enough of her story to be unkind, but not enough to be accurate. I did not want to join that crowd. She closed the legal pad. How much? For the inspection? For making it livable? I gave her a rough number. She did not flinch, which told me she had either expected worse or had no idea how she would pay. I can do the clearing and painting, she said. I'm not helpless. I didn't say you were. That phrase may become annoying if you keep using it. It may become unnecessary if you stop arguing with things I haven't said. She studied me, then laughed. It was a low, surprised sound, as if she had forgotten it belonged to her. I returned 2 days later with tools for the chest. Clara had swept the front room and opened every curtain. Sunlight showed how much dust remained, but it also showed the honey color hidden in the floorboards. She had set 2 paper cups of coffee on the windowsill. I didn't know how you take it, she said. Black. Good. I guessed one correctly. What's in the other? Enough cream to make it legally dessert. I knelt by the cedar chest. The lock gave way after 10 minutes. Clara sat beside me, but did not lift the lid. You fought it for an hour, I said. Now you're afraid of it? I'm deciding whether wanting something opened means I'm ready to see what is inside. That sounds bigger than a chest. Most things do lately. She raised the lid. The scent of cedar and old lavender rose into the room. Inside were folded quilts, recipe cards tied with string, a silver-backed hairbrush, and a stack of letters wrapped in blue ribbon. On top lay a sealed envelope. For Clara, when she comes home. Her face changed. Not dramatically. Her mouth simply went still, and all the color left her cheeks. You knew it might be there? I asked. My grandmother wrote letters for every occasion. Birthdays, graduations, bad days. She believed paper could wait more patiently than people. Clara touched the envelope, but did not pick it up. Do you want privacy? Yes. I stood. Then she caught my wrist. No, I mean yes, but don't go far. Her hand fell away as quickly as it had reached for me. I'll check the porch, I said. Outside, I pulled loose boards while she sat inside with the letter unopened in her lap. When I returned through the doorway, the envelope was gone. Did you read it? I asked. She took a sip from her cold coffee. Not yet. There was something else inside the chest that she had moved beneath the quilt. I saw only the corner of a photograph and a man's hand resting on her shoulder. She shut the lid before I could see more. That became the first question Clara carried between us. Not what had happened to her marriage, what she still believed she deserved because of it. The cottage took shape slowly. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I repaired the roof and windows. Clara worked at a bakery on Main Street in the mornings, then came back in an apron dusted with flour. She changed into old jeans, tied her hair up and painted whatever I told her not to touch yet. You said the trim needed paint, she called from the ladder one afternoon. I said it needed sanding. It is white either way. Not after the paint peels. She held up the brush. Then future Clara will have a project. Future Clara is going to be furious with present Clara. She usually is. I climbed the ladder, took the brush from her, and found a streak of paint across her nose. What? She asked. Nothing, you're smiling. You painted yourself. She wiped the wrong cheek. Other side. She wiped her forehead. I laughed. You are enjoying this too much. Hold still. I cleaned the paint with my thumb. Her breath caught. So did mine. We were close enough for me to see a small pale line where a ring had once rested on her finger. She lowered her hand and climbed down without speaking. That evening, she made tomato soup on a camping stove because the kitchen range was not connected. We ate on overturned buckets beneath the open window. Do you always feed contractors? I asked. Only the ones who insult my sanding. I criticized the absence of sanding. Details, the soup had too much pepper and not enough salt. I finished 2 bowls. Clara watched me scrape the bottom. You don't have to pretend it's good. I'm hungry enough to respect effort. That is not a compliment. It is from a carpenter. She smiled, then stared out at the orchard. The branches were beginning to bud. My grandmother used to make soup in this room, she said. She let me stand on a chair and stir. My father hated it. He said children should not be near flames. Sounds reasonable. He thought children should not be near much of anything. Flames, creeks, horses, boys with motorcycles. Opinions. Were you difficult? I was supervised. That answer told me more than a complaint would have. A week later, I found Clara trying to carry a cast iron sink from the shed. Put that down. I have it. You have half of it. I was moving the other half next. I took the weight before she dropped it. You really dislike asking for help. I dislike owing people. You pay me. Not enough for this. You don't know my hourly rate for saving sinks. She followed me into the kitchen. What is it? Coffee, that seems low. Good coffee. She leaned against the doorframe. What makes coffee good? Someone else making it. The next morning, she brought a thermos and 2 real mugs. Mine was blue enamel. Hers was cream with painted wildflowers. I found them at the thrift shop, she said. The paper cups felt temporary. I turned the blue mug in my hand. A chip marked the rim. This one is damaged. So is the cottage. That explains why you bought it. It still holds coffee. She said it casually, but the words stayed with me. By May, the porch stood level. The windows opened. Clara planted herbs in dented tin cans along the sill. She found a round oak table at an estate sale and made me help carry it home. Home? I asked as we loaded it into my truck. The cottage. You called it home. I called it a location. You did not. She shut the tailgate. You are becoming tiresome. You keep making it rewarding. At the cottage, we set the table under the kitchen window. Clara ran her hand across the scratched surface. My mother had one like this. Where is she? She died when I was 19. I'm sorry. She was quiet. Not weak. People confuse those things. Your father? He became louder after she was gone. She pulled open one drawer. A folded receipt slid forward. I think he was afraid the whole house would scatter if he stopped holding everything too tightly. It was the first gentle thing she had said about him. I remembered it later. A storm rolled over the ridge one Thursday and cut the power before supper. Rain hammered the new roof while Clara lit 3 candles and set them in jam jars. At least the roof works, she said. Give it an hour before praising me. We sat at the oak table with bread, cheese, and the last of Mrs. Talbot's cinnamon rolls. Clara tore one in half. What did you think your life would look like at 34? She asked. I considered lying. A wife. Maybe a child, a workshop with heat. Which part hurts most? The workshop in January. She smiled, but her eyes stayed on me. What about you? I asked. I thought I would be impressive. You are carrying a cottage back from the dead. That is not what I meant. I know. Thunder shook the windows. Her candle flickered. I used to draw house plans, she said. Small ones. Kitchens with wide windows. Porches deep enough for rain. Evan called them childish. Do you still have them? Maybe. Then show me sometime. She reached across the table and touched a cut on my knuckle. You say things as if there will be a sometime. I turned my hand beneath hers. There can be. The lights returned. Clara pulled away, and the room became ordinary again. Neither of us finished the cinnamon roll. The town noticed Clara before the Whitmores acknowledged her. Mrs. Talbot from the bakery began sending day-old rolls to the cottage. The librarian donated curtains. Mr. Reese brought 2 tomato plants and pretended he had too many. People also stared. At the Saturday market, I helped Clara carry boxes of bread from the bakery van. We were laughing about a loaf shaped like a boot when the crowd quieted around us. Charles Whitmore stood at the orchard stall 20 feet away. He was taller than I remembered, silver-haired, broad through the shoulders. Clara had his eyes. Beside him stood her older brother Owen. Clara's laughter stopped. Charles looked at the bread in her arms, then at me. You're working for Mrs. Talbot? He asked. Clara shifted the box. Yes, you have a degree. I also have rent. His jaw tightened. You could have called. You changed your number. Owen looked down. Charles said, the office number has not changed. Clara's hands tightened around the box. I wasn't calling the office, Dad. People nearby found reasons to rearrange apples. Charles noticed me again. Mercer, Mr. Whitmore, you're repairing the cottage? Yes, that building should have been torn down. Clara answered before I could. Grandma left it to me. She expected family to live on family land. Clara's face went pale. I was family when she signed the will. Charles did not reply. I stepped toward the van and opened the back doors. Boxes go inside? I asked. Clara nodded. We loaded them without another word. When the last box was in, she climbed into the passenger seat and stared straight ahead. I drove away from the market. At the edge of town, she said, You can ask. Ask what? What I did. I know what people say. That I ran off with a man who stole from me? They say many things. They say my father warned me. That I chose a stranger over my family. That I deserved what happened. I don't. She turned toward the window. You don't even know what happened. No, but people can make a bad choice without deserving every bad thing that follows. Her shoulders trembled once. I kept my eyes on the road. After a mile, she said, Evan made decisions quickly. That felt like freedom to me. Was it? No. The word was small. At the cottage, she carried one box inside and left the other in the truck. I waited. She returned with the sealed letter from her grandmother. I still haven't opened it, she said. Why? Because she wrote it for when I came home. You are home. She shook her head. Not yet. Then a black sedan turned through the orchard gate and began coming down the narrow road. Clara saw it and went rigid. The envelope slipped from her hand. That's Evan, she whispered. The car stopped beside my truck. Evan Ross stepped out wearing a navy coat too fine for the muddy road. He was handsome in a polished way. Clean cuffs, careful hair. A smile practiced for rooms where everyone wanted something. Clara, he said. She did not answer. His gaze moved to me. You must be the contractor. Jonah Mercer, Evan Ross. Clara gripped the blue ribbon around her grandmother's letter. How did you find me? The lawyer forwarded a notice. We still have financial matters to settle. We settled them in January. He removed a leather folder from the car. A business loan is coming due. Your loan. A loan you guaranteed. Her face emptied. I never guaranteed your company. You signed a marital credit authorization. You told me that was for the apartment. It covered related obligations. He glanced toward the cottage. Sell this place. Your father will buy it. The money can clear the debt. Clara took one step back. You spoke to my father. He agrees it is sensible. Get off my property. Clara, think, I spent 4 years doing nothing else. Evan's eyes settled on me. She likes men who make her feel rescued. The sentence landed exactly where he intended. I opened his car door. Road is narrow, I said. Back out slowly. He closed the folder. You have 10 days before the lender files. Then he drove away. Clara entered the cottage and placed the sealed letter on the kitchen table. Go home, Jonah. No. I am not asking you to fix this. I know. Her voice cracked. My father warned me. My brother warned me. Evan made every choice feel like rebellion until I handed him my life one signature at a time. That does not make the papers honest. It makes the choices mine. She faced me. Please leave. This time I did. Clara did not answer my calls for 3 days. On the 4th, Mrs. Talbot said she had stopped coming to the bakery. On the 5th, I drove back. A for sale sign leaned against the porch. Her suitcase lay open on the kitchen floor. My father offered enough to cover the loan, she said. And what did he ask in return? The land. A room at the farmhouse. A chance to stop making disasters. Did he call them disasters? She looked away. Then who did? Her hands froze over the recipe cards. I stepped closer. I'm afraid you'll leave. I'm afraid I'll say too much and become another man telling you what to do. I'm afraid I'll say nothing and watch you disappear because silence feels safer. Her eyes filled. I cannot be someone you save. Good, I don't know how. A wet laugh escaped her. You fixed an entire house. A house tells me where it hurts. And I don't? You do. I'm trying to listen. For 1 second, she seemed ready to come toward me. Then a truck door slammed outside. Charles Whitmore climbed the porch steps. Charles entered without knocking. He saw me, the packed suitcase, and the sale sign. Clara, he said, the attorney can have papers ready Monday. She moved beside the cedar chest. You agreed with Evan before you spoke to me. I agreed that the debt must be handled. You spoke to him. He called. And you answered. Charles's expression tightened. I will not apologize for protecting this family. I am part of this family. His eyes shifted. You left. You ordered me to. I told you that if you chose him after everything we found, you would face the result. No, you told me not to come home. The room became very still. Charles glanced at me. This is private, Clara said. Jonah stays. Her father's jaw worked once. You barely know him. I know he waits for an answer before deciding what I mean. That is not enough to build a life. No, I said. But it is a decent place to start. Charles turned toward me. You are being paid to repair this cottage. I was. Then finish the work and keep out of what does not concern you. Clara stood straighter. He concerns me. The words changed the room. Charles heard it. So did I. His voice dropped. You have known him a few months. 6. You knew Evan less than a year. Clara recoiled as if struck. Charles closed his eyes. When he spoke again, the anger had thinned. I watched your mother trust a doctor who kept telling us there was more time. I believed him because I wanted to. After she died, I promised I would never ignore danger because someone called it hope. Clara's eyes filled. You turned that promise into a fence. I was afraid. You never said that. A father should not have to explain fear to his child. A daughter should not have to mistake it for hatred. Charles gripped the back of a chair. His next words came rough. When you drove away with Evan, I thought you would return in a week. Then a month passed. Then pride made every phone call harder. By the time I learned what he had done, I did not know whether calling would help you or humiliate you. You could have tried. Yes, It was the first clean admission he had given her. Clara wiped her cheek. Charles looked at the packed suitcase. Come to the farmhouse. The west room is ready. Under what conditions? No conditions. Will Jonah be welcome? He did not answer. Clara nodded slowly. That is a condition. Charles turned to me after she went upstairs. Walk with me. We crossed the porch and stopped near the creek. Spring water moved brown and quick between the stones. He kept his eyes on the orchard. She thinks you are different. I am. So did Evan. I'm not asking her to take my word. You think patience makes you safe? No. I think she gets to decide whether I am. Charles faced me. She has always run toward open doors. She does not notice who is standing behind them. That may be because you kept so many locked. His expression hardened. I waited for him to order me off the land. Instead, he looked suddenly tired. I lost my wife, he said. Then I lost my daughter while she was still alive. I chose anger because fear made me feel weak. There it was. The human part beneath the pride. I understand fear, I said. Do you? I let one woman leave because I thought love should not need to be spoken. I spent years calling that dignity. Charles studied the creek. If Clara loses this cottage, she will believe she failed again. Then help her keep it. The debt is real. The signature may not be. He glanced at me. I know a legal aid attorney who handles contractor fraud and forged authorizations. She helped one of my clients last year. Let Clara show her the papers before anyone sells anything. Charles's eyebrows drew together. Why hasn't Evan provided copies? Because he wants 10 days and a quick sale. We both understood what that might mean. When we returned inside, Clara was carrying the last box downstairs. I told her about the attorney, Marisol Vega. She shook her head. I cannot afford another fight. Charles said, I can. Clara looked at him. He added, not in exchange for the land. Suspicion and hope crossed her face together. Why? Because I should have helped you before help became a bargain. She sat on the bottom stair. The suitcase slipped from her hand. Charles took one step toward her, then stopped. He seemed unsure whether he still had the right to touch his own child. Clara noticed. She did not embrace him. But she said, call the attorney. That was enough for that day. Marisol met us the next morning at the cottage. She read every page Evan had sent and asked Clara careful questions. Did you sign this authorization in person? She asked. I signed something. Not this page. Was it notarized? Evan brought a woman to the apartment. He said she was from the bank. Marisol pointed to the seal. This notary's commission expired 2 years before the date shown. Clara stared. Charles leaned forward. What does that mean? It means we do not sell anything in 10 days. The breath left Clara's body. Marisol continued. We request the original loan file. We challenge the guarantee. We notify the lender that fraud is suspected. Mr. Ross may have counted on shame and family pressure to make this move faster than the paperwork could be examined. Clara covered her mouth. Charles sat beside her but did not reach out. She lowered her hand and asked, Will this go public? Possibly, her father said. Let it. Clara turned toward him. He met her eyes. I protected the family name so fiercely that I forgot the family. She began to cry then. Quietly, without hiding. Charles held out his hand on the table, palm up. After a moment, she placed her fingers in it. I walked outside and gave them the room. Through the window, I saw a father and daughter sitting on opposite sides of an old table, holding on with both hands. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I saw the packed suitcase near the stairs and wondered whether keeping the cottage would be enough to make Clara stay. The guarantee began falling apart within 2 weeks. The lender paused collection. The notary denied witnessing Clara's signature. Evan stopped calling after Marisol requested the original digital records. But peace did not return as quickly as danger left. Clara unpacked the cottage and returned the wildflower mug beside the kettle. She also kept a careful distance from me. Our conversations became practical. More nails? Top drawer. Coffee? On the table. One Friday, I found her on the porch holding her grandmother's sealed letter. I received a job offer in Chicago, she said. My chest tightened. Do you want it? I want a place where no one knows what I did. That is not the same thing. It may be enough. What about me? Clara shut her eyes. That is why I think I have to go. You think choosing me would prove you learned nothing. My father was cruel about Evan, but he was not mistaken. Being right about one man does not make him right about every man. I do not trust the part of me that wants a home so badly. Then don't choose me, because you need a home. Choose Chicago if you want the city. Choose this cottage if you want these walls. But do not leave just to punish the woman who once stayed too long. She gripped the envelope. You make it sound simple. No, I make it sound like yours. That night I finished repairing Ruth's old porch swing. The next morning Owen came to my shop with a small wooden box. Inside was a plain gold ring. Our mother's, he said. Dad wants Clara to have it. Why bring it to me? Because she smiles before your truck reaches the cottage. He left the box on my bench. That evening, Whitmore Orchard held its 100th season supper beneath the packing shed. Long tables stood between strings of lights. Clara wore a green dress. Evan stood beside her with flowers and an envelope. I came to apologize, he said. Then do it without flowers. He lowered them. I panicked. The business was failing. I convinced myself the loan would recover before you knew. You forged my name. I brought a settlement. The lender will release you if you sign. Marisol stepped forward. I'll review it. Evan's smile broke. This is between Clara and me. Clara handed Marisol the envelope. It is between me and anyone I choose to stand beside me. Her gaze found mine. I did not move toward her. She crossed the distance herself. You finished the swing, she said, seeing it in my truck. Yes, I leave Monday. I heard. You are not going to stop me? No, tears filled her eyes. Why? Because loving you cannot mean taking your choices away. Behind us, Charles spoke. I was wrong to make my love conditional. Clara turned. He stood beside Owen, pale beneath the orchard lights. Go to Chicago if it is the life you want, he continued. Stay if it is the life you want. Marry someday, or do not. I will not close the gate again. Clara began to cry. Her father waited until she nodded. Then he embraced her. The crowd turned away, giving them privacy. Clara stayed in his arms until the years between them softened enough to breathe. Then she came back to me. I need to read the letter, she said. We drove to the cottage together. The kitchen was dark when we arrived. Clara lit the lamp above the table. I put water in the kettle. She untied the blue ribbon. The paper inside was covered in Ruth Whitmore's narrow handwriting. Clara read silently until her knees weakened, and she sat. What does it say? I asked. She says home is not a reward for obedience. Her voice broke. She says fear can wear the clothes of love, but love leaves room to breathe. Clara read farther and laughed through her tears. She says leaving a bad life is not proof that I chose badly. It is proof that I finally chose myself. At the bottom, Ruth had drawn the cottage with 2 mugs in the window. Clara touched the picture. She knew I would come here. Maybe she hoped. She left me the brass key inside this envelope. I carried it everywhere, but I would not use it until the night Evan came. The night you asked whether choosing could ruin your life again. Yes, I placed the small wooden box on the table. Your mother's ring. Owen brought it. Clara stared at it. Why did he give it to you? He thought you would accept it from someone who was not deciding your future. I rested my hand on the table, palm up. She placed hers in mine. I love you, I said. I love the woman who fought a locked chest with a screwdriver. I love the woman who paints before sanding and puts too much pepper in soup. I love the woman who came back carrying shame that never belonged to her. Her fingers tightened. I am not asking you to stay because Chicago scares me. I am asking because every ordinary day beside you feels like a life I would be proud to build. Jonah, I want that. Then take it. I'm afraid. So am I. She pulled away and faced the dark orchard. Then she turned. My family disowned me for marrying wrong once, she said. I crossed the kitchen slowly. Then marry right this time. She covered her mouth. I opened the box. I cannot promise a life without mistakes, I said. I can promise they will be ours to face. I will not speak for you when you can speak. I will not choose for you when the choice is yours. Clara lowered her hand. You planned that speech. Most of it. The soup part? That came naturally. A laugh broke through her tears. I knelt. Not to rescue her. To ask. Clara Whitmore, will you build a life with me? Yes, she whispered. I waited. She drew a full breath. Yes, Jonah. I choose you. I slid the ring onto her finger. It fit. She sank to her knees and wrapped both arms around me. We held each other on the worn kitchen floor while the kettle clicked itself cool. Headlights crossed the window. Charles and Owen stood on the porch. Clara opened the door. Her father saw the ring. That was your mother's, he said. I know. He looked at me. Did she choose? Clara answered. I did. Charles kissed her forehead. I am glad you came home. I'm glad the gate was open. It will stay that way. Owen stepped inside. Is there coffee? Clara laughed. There are only 2 mugs. I looked at the empty hooks. We can fix that. Clara did not leave for Chicago. She declined the job herself, then returned to the bakery while deciding what work she truly wanted. By autumn, the cottage was finished. The roof held through 3 storms. Herbs filled the kitchen window. Ruth's porch swing hung beneath the eaves. Clara turned the front room into a bookkeeping office. Farmers and shop owners hired her because she read every page before asking anyone to sign. Evan accepted a settlement that removed her from the loan and required him to repay the lender. He left Illinois soon after. Charles changed more slowly. He still offered advice as if it were a command. Clara still stiffened before remembering she could disagree. But each Sunday, he came to supper, sometimes carrying apples, sometimes carrying a broken chair because asking me to repair something was easier than saying he wanted company. The following spring, he replaced the orchard gate himself. He left it unlatched. Clara and I married beneath the apple blossoms. Mrs. Talbot baked the cake. Owen hung lights from the packing shed. Marisol stood beside Clara. Charles walked his daughter halfway down the path, then stopped. The rest is your choice, he said. Clara kissed his cheek and walked the remaining steps alone. When the minister asked who gave her away, Charles answered from the front row. No one. She came by her own choosing. After the ceremony, Clara found me in the cottage kitchen, cutting 2 slices of cake. You disappeared from your own wedding, she said. I was hungry. You have a wife now. You are supposed to report important things. I left a note. She found it beside the cake. Saving you the corner piece. Clara folded the paper and tucked it into her dress. You keep everything, I said. Only what still holds something. Years later, our kitchen held more than 2 mugs. One was shaped like an apple. One said, Best Dad. A tiny yellow cup sat between them for our daughter, Ruthie, who believed every drink tasted better on the porch. The cedar chest stayed beneath the window. Inside it, Clara kept her grandmother's letter, our wedding vows, the cake note, and a new stack of envelopes tied with blue ribbon. One was for Ruthie when she felt afraid. One was for Charles, though Clara gave it to him while he was still alive to read it. One was for me. I never asked what mine said. Paper can wait patiently. I no longer had to. Each morning, Clara filled the wildflower mug and set my chipped blue one beside it. Ruthie ran through the kitchen. The orchard gate stood open beyond the porch. There was room for truth. There was room for choice. There was room for us. And the empty hook beneath my cabinet was empty no more.